Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a f***ing con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician. Just a stone-cold, narrative-driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and you know that's a human being. With Newsom, you got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person.
Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building codes are responsive to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city that you were in.
What do you get when you mix Joe Rogan's zero-filter truth bombs with Charlie Kirk's bulldozer sarcasm? You get Gavin Newsom's political ego getting drop-kicked into a dumpster fire of his own making. From hair gel to hypocrisy, nothing is safe. Rogan and Kirk just turned California's golden boy into political mulch, and it's glorious. Brace yourself for the roast session Newsom never saw coming. Spoiler, his eyebrows weren't the only thing that got scorched. Let's dive into the chaos.
Did you see the governor talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down? And he did this little dance. Show it to him, Jamie.
You had some ideas around some land use concerns around speculators coming in, buying up properties. Mm-hmm. We're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward.
With a big smile on his
You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't know,
most
this
cringy?
harmonious thing of 22 senators all saying the same
You
thing.
didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead. Go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
But what do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some.
Joe Rogan didn't need a suit, a teleprompter, or hair gel to bulldoze Gavin Newsom. All it took was a functioning brain and the ability to smell political nonsense from 10 miles away. Newsom, meanwhile, strutted around California like the poster boy for a shampoo commercial that doubles as a climate sermon. The man talks about saving the environment while jetting around in his private climate crime scene.
I will say, if you look at Gavin Newsom's numbers, there's a Newsweek article, though. His numbers are down dramatically as far as favorability, trust, authenticity since he started this podcast. It's not going very well for him of how people view him. So for that, I will say that I think we have done a good job of exposing him for being the synthetic
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. You could almost hear Rogan's brain short-circuiting from secondhand smugness every time Newsom opened his mouth. The podcast host, who can dissect quantum physics while doing kettlebell swings, couldn't wrap his head around how California's self-proclaimed savior managed to torch every industry he touched. Tech fleeing Hollywood, relocating small businesses, dead homelessness skyrocketing faster than Newsom.
The governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate.
But would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
Why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but
Oh,
you
that
can't
was
clean
you
it up?
guys. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was the most ridiculous. Yeah, that was. You know what? I will happily revert back to your
Can I have the streets as clean as Xi
weaponized.
Jinping?
In this case, weaponized. Weaponized.
Charlie Kirk didn't even need caffeine to roast this man. Just the latest numbers from California's disaster tracker, also known as the Morning News. Newsom governs like he's playing SimCity blindfolded and drunk on kombucha. Kirk practically combusted, pointing out that Gavin turned the Golden State into a rusted ruin with palm trees.
Gavin Newsom talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. Hey, they're all moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. It's too expensive to leave versus all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. It's too expensive.
Newsom still thinks his presidential material. Because nothing screams ready to lead a nation like being the human embodiment of skyrocketing taxes, human feces on sidewalks, and rolling blackouts. The man is a walking PSA for why people are fleeing blue states with more urgency than cats from a dog park. Rogan couldn't hold it in. California used to be the dream, the beaches, the innovation, the culture. Now it's a Mad Max sequel sponsored by Whole Foods, and right in the center of the chaos. Newsom, flashing that fake grin like he just solved poverty, while stepping over a tent city. And somehow, in his mind, this qualifies as visionary leadership. Even when Newsom tries to sound tough, it's like watching a labradoodle bark at a lion. His emergency declarations, buzzword salads with no protein. His hair has more structure than his policies. And yet, He preaches with the confidence of a guy who thinks his Tesla charges the moon.
Gavin Newsom, if you're listening to this, you're a failure. Mayors are actually some of the most powerful people in the country. The police are responsive to the mayor. The building codes are responsive to the mayor. The homeless, mayors are very, very powerful. So he was mayor of San Francisco. Would you let your son walk the streets of San Francisco unaccompanied at 1 a.m.? No, you wouldn't. I'm sorry. Your son can't walk the streets of the city that you were in.
Rogan's podcast has hosted neuroscientists, astronauts, and world-class thinkers. Then he turns to Newsom's press clips and finds the intellectual equivalent of a microwave beep. Gavin speaks in vague platitudes and polished nothings. It's like being lectured on fire safety by a guy holding a flamethrower in a dry forest. Charlie Kirk didn't hold back either. He had a field day connecting Newsom's policies to the U-Haul exodus, lining up at the state border like it's Black Friday at Target. People are leaving faster than Gavin dodges accountability. He acts shocked when people criticize him. What do you mean the fires got worse after I cut forest management budgets and blamed climate change? Newsflash, you can't solar panel your way out of mismanagement. But Gavin tries. Rogan roasted him so casually it was art. Watching Newsom explain the California exodus is like watching a raccoon explain quantum physics. He thinks it's all politics. No, it's called survival. People want water, power, and to not navigate human waste to get to Starbucks.
Did you see what's going on? Obviously, you've seen what's going on in California. But the governor gave this creepy fucking speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down while it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with these, with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We got some ideas. A speculator, we're gonna have some meetings. Like, he's
really?
Oh, show it to him, Jamie. It's so creepy because it's happening while these people their houses have been burned. All their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
And let's not forget Gavin's favorite pastime, banning things. Gas cars, banned. Freedom, questionable. Logic, missing. He governs like a guy who skimmed one paragraph of a climate blog and decided to play dictator for fun. And every time his plans fail, he blames Texas, capitalism, or Mercury retrograde. Charlie Kirk lost it watching Gavin try to virtue signal his way out of every mess. One week it's climate change, the next it's equity, then some vague social justice crusade with all the depth of a kiddie pool. Meanwhile, actual Californians are choosing between rent or groceries while Gavin tweets from a vineyard. He governs with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer wrapped in velvet. Joe Rogan didn't just laugh, he clinically diagnosed the Newsom effect, a condition where reality bends around your ego until you believe your failures are actually wins. You tell everyone the power grid's collapsing because of climate change, not because you replace competence with slogans.
As exhibited, as how they're acting in the streets and how they're acting in Congress, is not moderating on these issues. In fact, I think this podcast might be ending Gavin Newsom's presidential ambitions, not preparing him for his presidential ambition. And so the final point I'll make is this, is that it wasn't just about Gavin, it was also about the tens of millions of people that were able to get their eyes open and say why didn't Gavin go stronger on the trans sports issue, or why didn't he do this? And now Gavin Newsom, I could say this, you're seeing this all across the board. He is under non-stop siege, and he's handling
Charlie
it.
Kirk didn't just keep receipts. He built a Costco-sized binder of everything Gavin Newsom ever touched and turned to compost. He practically rolled in with a scroll like an ancient monk of mismanagement, unraveling every tax hike, ludicrous regulation, and virtue-signaling disaster Gavin ever cooked up in his coastal lab of delusion. It wasn't a list, it was a horror anthology. Budget cuts and broken promises replaced ghosts. Here's a guy who thinks giving junkies hotel rooms with room service is a housing solution. Who believes banning plastic straws is the key to utopia, while the sidewalks of San Francisco now resemble post-apocalyptic obstacle courses. Forget street names. You need a GPS, an emotional support animal, and a Sherpa just to avoid stepping in something that'll require therapy. But go ahead, Gavin. Declare war on gas stoves. Because clearly what's holding California back isn't blackouts or crime waves, it's cooking appliances.
I went there. I had a great relationship with President Xi. We got along very well. And they treated me better than anybody's ever been treated. And I said, this air is good. Do you know they closed every factory 1 week before I got there from within 200 miles?
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
He cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all the homeless people.
Isn't that terrible in a way to think, he cleaned it up and then it became a pigsty.
Well, the dumbest thing is he said when your friends come by, when you have visitors, you clean up your house. Like, how about just keep your fucking house clean?
Can you imagine?
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say ever as a governor as to excuse to why you finally cleaned up your homeless problem.
And the day he left,
right back to it.
It went right back.
Joe Rogan, bless his emotionally scarred soul, looked like someone had just read Gavin's greatest hits while playing ominous music in the background. You could see the existential dread setting in, like he suddenly remembered he pays taxes and lives on the same continent as this guy. He probably wandered outside after the show, stared at the sun, and whispered, "This is what happens when you elect a mannequin with a Wi-Fi connection." Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk was so fired up he looked one cough away from spontaneously combusting. He wasn't debating, he was detonating. He called out Gavin's addiction to press conferences like he was staging a one-man intervention. The man doesn't govern. He performs. He's the Broadway star of bureaucratic nothingness. Lights, camera, collapse. Gavin would hold a ribbon cutting for a pothole if the lighting was good enough and the media brought snacks.
Next time someone sits down with him, ask him an update. Hey, Governor Newsom, you said with Charlie Kirk that you think it's not fair. You have yet to do anything about it, sign an executive order, talk publicly about it, because a young man named A.B. Hernandez is about to win the long jump championship in California as a biological man. Why haven't you done something about it? Or are you just doing this podcast for clicks to try to make yourself seem more moderate? If Republican guest after Republican guest goes with that kind of attitude, be polite and firm, and hold him to the standard that he is setting on his own show, that will even collapse his political...
Charlie pointed out what Californians already know. Gavin governs like he's submitting projects for extra credit. Policies that sound like they were brainstormed at 2 a.m. during a vegan, kombucha-fueled group session. Let's fix homelessness with taxpayer-funded yurts. Let's lower emissions by banning breathing during rush hour. It's like Mad Libs, but every result is just a more expensive failure. And the punchline? Gavin keeps smiling into the camera and insisting things are improving. Improving where? On the set of The Truman Show. All courtesy of Gavin Newsom, California's own disaster influencer. Rogan didn't even need a punchline. Just showing a photo of San Francisco today counts as a roast. It's Gotham without Batman. And Newsom walks through it like he's in a campaign ad, blissfully unaware of the chaos he cultivated like a bonsai tree of dysfunction.
State is just so poorly managed. It's so frustrating and confusing, and then he gets on TV and pretends like everything's great. Mm-hmm. And California's the best. We have the best state. We have the most amazing economy. And like, you're out of your mind, dude. You've ruined this state. Like, personally ruined it.
Charlie Kirk went further. He practically begged Newsom to run for president, just for the memes. Imagine a debate stage with Gavin explaining why America should follow California's model. While Texas is thriving, Florida is booming, and California looks like a poorly managed Renaissance fair with fentanyl vendors. Gavin talks about innovation but presides over a state where businesses are taxed into extinction and regulations require a PhD to open a lemonade stand. Rogan didn't need to yell. He just shook his head, the universal body language for "this dude is out of his mind." And Kirk. He was already planning the farewell party for Gavin's reputation. He compared Newsom's leadership to a reverse Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to bankruptcy, crime, or unlivable housing. He's the only guy who can make a place with beaches and sunshine feel like a punishment.
But no, look, just one of the things we saw in the last couple of years that the Democrats completely ignored, and your side was basically not acknowledging was happening, was the crisis that young people were experiencing.
Right.
That, I mean, it's the first time in America's history that a 30-year-old is going to have it worse off than their parents.
Right.
It's a breakdown of the social compact.
That's right.
They are the most alcohol addicted, most drug addicted, most suicidal, most depressed, most medicated generation in history.
Rogan dug into Gavin's obsession with optics. Everything is curated, staged, filtered. Even disasters get a press tour. The forests are burning. Quick, find the camera. Crime wave. Time for a speech about justice. The lights go out. Don't worry, he'll light a candle and give a TED talk on resilience. Charlie Kirk's sarcasm hit biblical levels. He said if Gavin were any more disconnected from reality, he'd need a NASA rover to communicate with voters. And yet, here he is, floating the idea of a national campaign, like we're all just dying for the California experience, minus the earthquakes, those are still on standby. Joe Rogan simply let California state data do the talking. Crime up, taxes up, education down, sanity MIA. He laughed at how Gavin keeps trying to spin these as signs of progress, like someone bragging about gaining weight during a diet.
And do you see what Gavin Newsom said to him?
No.
Pull that post up, Jamie. Gavin Newsom said that you shouldn't be posting this. We're going to make it illegal, and I'm going to sign a law. And he said, "Professor, suck on these nuts."
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes,
Elon
he did.
said that to Gavin Newsom?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I checked with renowned world authority, Professor Suck on these nuts, and he said parody is legal in America.
And then came the hair. Charlie Kirk couldn't resist. Gavin's perfectly sculpted helmet of hair, like a Greco-Roman statue mated with a bottle of mousse, was the ultimate metaphor. All style, no substance. The man has more volume in his hair than in his policies. Rogan was done. He said if aliens landed and Newsom greeted them, they'd nuke Earth and leave. Because no intelligent species could look at California under Gavin and think, yes, this is the planet worth saving. Charlie Kirk said Gavin's legacy will be taught in textbooks, but only as a cautionary tale. A case study in ego and incompetence. Meanwhile, Gavin will be on Instagram flexing about his bold leadership while another business files for bankruptcy in downtown LA. Rogan has seen a lot, from elk hunting to DMT trips, but nothing quite as hallucinatory as Gavin's understanding of governance.
Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. The guy's a con man. I mean, everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, when it was totally unnecessary, to being caught out in public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
All of it.
And Kirk. He was practically begging the DNC to nominate Newsom. Do it. Please. The guy who made poop an official job title. The man who thinks a broken power grid is an opportunity for green innovation. Kirk promised he'd just sit back and let Gavin debate himself into electoral oblivion. Together, they didn't need to be in the same room to incinerate Gavin Newsom's fantasy of national leadership. One wielded logic and sarcasm like a flamethrower. The other deployed raw disbelief and brutal common sense. And between the two, Gavin's myth of success got peeled like an overripe avocado at a vegan brunch.